Welcome back to Light Talk, where the guests can be themselves and tell their own unique experiences of the metaphysical world. If you have your own unique stories and would love to chat with you, I would. And please email lighttalk423 at gmail.com. And while you're at it, click on the like, share, and subscribe buttons. Now, let's get rolling here. This is going to be a blast today. I've got not only one, but two guests today. So go ahead and introduce yourselves and we'll get started.
All right. So my name's Rachel, and I am the founder and lead researcher of the Paranormal Seekers. We are a paranormal investigative team coming from Ontario, Canada. So we are located and out of Durham region, which is just about 30 minutes east of Toronto, but we service all of Ontario and beyond. And then we have Allison here with us. If she wants to introduce herself, she can.
I will. Pardon the teenager shenanigans going on in the background. When Mom says she has a podcast, they're like, oh, great, let's slam doors. I'm Allison. I was first introduced to the Paranormal Seekers as a public member that attended a public investigation at the Canadian Automotive Museum in Oshawa. And then after that, I went to several more public investigations. And in 2016, when the team was recruiting members, Rachel reached out to me and asked if I wanted to throw down, and I did. And the rest is history in the making. So I don't know, the last 10, almost 10 years I've known Rachel, going into 11 this November. So it's just been incredible to watch the team grow and see where we go and have some epic road trips and shenanigans along the way.
All right. Well, awesome. Well, let's go ahead and let's start telling some stories. So I know you guys are investigators, so I know you have tons of stories.
We do 20 years worth of stories. Starting. So I founded the team in 2004, and it's just been going ever since. And we've been gaining steam ever since. And we are so grateful for everything that we've ever been able to do, the places we've been able to visit, the people that we have met, and the some that have literally become family. We've got great stories. We've got weird stories. We've got funny stories. So many different types of stories. What's your favorite story, Allison? Since you're the kind of new member, but not really new, but
I can't say I have a favorite story. I can say that I have a favorite moment. So I'm one of the intuitives on the team. So, I've had, spiritual gifts, if you want to call them that, since the time I can remember, about the age of 4. So one of the places that we have been was very near and dear to my heart as a child. It was the first place I drove by that I saw a dead person at that wasn't in my home. So it was the first understanding. I was about 4. My brother was 6 in the car beside me. 40 some odd years later, he admitted he saw the woman too. Flash forward, 2023, Rachel gets us in for an investigation. I sat on all of the juicy dish that I knew about this home and affiliated with the stories, the urban legends, as we will call them. And so Rachel got us in there, and we had an incredible investigation. The predominant doctor knew who I was. They knew I had ties to the area and a long-standing history with the home. So they definitely put up with our investigation and our shenanigans. And that home was, we did more investigating. And then, sorry, I have a daughter being a daughter. And so what happened was, there is a lost Chinese man, dead man, that I picked up in around 2017, I think is when he was identified, maybe 2016. But I was unable, and Rachel and I we've tried, Google Translate, we've tried anything under the sun. He always came through. He always sounded very angry. And then lo and behold, Rachel said, hey, there's York University students that want to film a documentary with us. Where should we go? And I was like, let's go to the Hillary House. Why not, right? Because they like me, we like them, they give us good stuff. So sure enough, they get us in, and I'm looking at this woman, and she's like, oh yeah, I came last minute. The original sound guy vanished. He just couldn't show up. So they called me in, and I'm looking at her and I'm like, you happen to speak Cantonese or Mandarin? And she's like, I do. I do. Mandarin is my mother tongue. And I'm like, oh, I know why you came and not the original guy. So needless to say, we took time out during the documentary to connect with him. And she was able to communicate with him and act as a liaison between us and him. He did speak Mandarin, but it was a different time of Mandarin. So she said it was like an older Mandarin from a different time. And she was able to give us some information, but it was all done live, right off the cuff. So that there for me was a pretty inspiring and amazing moment because he got to tell his story. We were able to understand him, and he still comes through our equipment, but he's not angry anymore. He sounds very different. So I think, the interconnection of that home that, for 43 years I've known had a woman in it, and then to be able to go in there and, because of Rachel, find out all the history, know exactly who she was and those type of things, and then to have it all fall into our lap and be able to help this gentleman that we've tried for so long to help.
Oh, that's so awesome. I've got chills going through me. That is so awesome.
It's a
Oh,
great story. So one of my favorite locations is a place near Peterborough, Ontario, called Lang Pioneer Village. And we're family up there with everybody. It's great. Even the dead people. But we investigated first there, I believe it was 2016, and Allison was, I think it was one of Allison's like first like real investigations, like professional investigations, not a group one where she had come as a guest. And we were investigating. We did our thing. We went home, go through all of our stuff. And then, of course, at the time, Allison and I were actually working together in an authentically haunted house. It was an escape room facility, but it was haunted. And we decided, to bring our equipment like we always do.
yeah.
Uh,
Don't
we
leave
were,
home without it.
we don't nowhere. We always have something. But we were like asking questions, like we brought out the ghost box, we'd ask questions, and we kept getting this Nick and Mike. And we were like, I wonder who Nick and Mike is. Now, these names in the same tone and voices would come through our ghost box on every investigation we went on after that. And anytime we pulled out the ghost box, they would come through. So we were like, who's this Nick and Mike? Like, who are these people? So we went to see a psychic friend of ours, and we were asking, and our one question was, who is Nick and Mike? So she started saying, oh, they were soldiers. They're connected to you, Rachel. And she gave us a bit more information. So with that, we went back to our, we had access to the haunted building all times. So we went back to where we worked, and we sat down one night and we did a ghost box session, and we asked questions, Nick, what was your last name? And we got Walsh. And like, Mike, what was your last name? And where are you from? And all that kind of stuff. So we got a bunch of information, and of course I have to do some sleuthing. So that's what I do. I love history. I love looking it up. I love genealogy, all that stuff. I love finding out who people are and who people were. So I found a Nick Walsh, and I found his buddy Mike. They served in World War I together. Wow. Or World War II. Sorry. They served together. Is it World War II?
No, I think it's one.
It's one of them.
It's World War I think. Because it was your great.
It would be two because of how it ends up. World War I is noble. He's also from Lang Pioneer Village, by the way. So we finally figured out that we had picked them up at Lang Pioneer Village because they had that time had a military display. And these guys, there was something in the display that was connected to the one gentleman, Mike, who lived in the area. We don't know what it is or what it was, but there had to have been something there because that is where we picked them up. Now, we went back to the psychic with all of the papers, like the attestation papers that that I had found, because I was like, "Is this who we found?" And she's like, "Yes, Rachel, that's exactly. They're saying you found them, but they're connected to you." And I was like, "Well, how?" She goes, "Well, you had family members that served in the war." And I was like, "Well, yeah, I did, but he didn't really make it off the beach on D-Day," which is funny because that was just a few days ago. He never made it home. And she's like, no, they're connected to you. They're saying they're connected to you. I had no idea. Well, it turns out my great grandfather on my mom's side, so my mom's mother's father, he passed away when she was 6 months old, so we would have never known him. And he served in that same war in the exact same battalion as Nick and Mike at the exact same time.
Oh, wow. Nature chills all the way
Yeah.
through me. Whoa. Oh, in the
Yeah.
arms.
Yeah.
That is
So
awesome.
it is one of those feel good moments when you're like, oh my gosh, like these are like the moments we strive for when we investigate. Like this past weekend, we were up in the middle of nowhere, Ontario, also called Commanda. And I was doing an Estes method, so I was sitting in the corner in the dark with my headphones on and my mask on, with myself connected to the ghost box. And Allison and another team member with us, Kathy, was asking questions, and we had all the staff and the volunteers of the museum there with us. And I guess at one point I said something like, "Are you open tomorrow?" And I don't know what was said in between. I haven't listened to it yet.
The answer, they're like, no.
And the next thing I remember saying was, "Well, you're missing out."
Yeah, it was so funny.
And I could hear this muffled laughing because it was, I guess, really loud, like in the background. I had no idea what was going on. But apparently the ghosts up there just want them to stay open on Sundays.
But it was the way she said it. She was like, well, you're missing out. Like, it was so like matter of fact, like we know that you're missing out. And the three women, like they were just in hysterics, howling about it. They're like, I wonder what we're missing out on. But it was pretty funny. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. We have so many funny stories and great stories. And it just goes to show you that, this type of work, it's not about the evil, the demonic, the bad, the negative. That's like maybe a 0.01% of the cases that we've ever come across and probably ever will. But it's the funny stuff and the stuff that connects and shows you that these were real people and they still have these real feelings and emotions, and they will still tell you off and they will still insult each other. Yeah, I believe we talked about this before, but we were in St. Mary's and we had Allison doing the Estes with another team member, Kaz, and they were fighting back and forth. They were literally insulting each other and they had no idea. It was the funniest thing I've ever personally seen.
Yeah, like in the end, I look at, I'm like, I don't know what's going on. And I just hear this man go, you're gay. So I say it. And I had, unbeknownst to me, no idea what Kaz replies back. And I've finally heard it. And there's this very long pause. And Kaz replies, well, maybe I am.
And you're like, and these two are brothers.
Yeah, they had to have been. It was just that you could tell it was that kind of like sibling rivalry. Like when you nitpick at your siblings, it sounded just like that.
Yeah.
Great. It was great.
I can imagine some of the things that you guys have heard throughout all of these investigations.
Oh, that one was a pretty raunchy one. I'm not gonna lie. There were some things that came across that were pretty surprising for us, considering the time period that these gentlemen would have been in, but not surprising, so to say, because they're gentlemen of a specific prominence status, so it might have been normal for them, but yeah, it was really funny and interesting. So
well, if you're ever down in the Denver Loveland area of Colorado, come search me out. I'd love to
of course
go on a hunt with you guys. It's got to be so funny.
Oh, it is fun no matter what we do, even in the really trying times or the really quiet investigations or the ones we're not quite sure of. There's still some fun to be had, unless we're running away, then that's not fun at all. But
yeah, you gotta tell that story.
I just find people are often shocked at our like humor and the way we use humor and our dark humor during our investigations. But we just roll with it. Like that's what it's all about, right?
Yeah, you
can't predict the living, you can't predict the dead.
Right.
No. Oh my god.
Yeah. Yeah. So the one that you guys ran from, I want to hear that story.
Oh, that's a fun one. So this is a private residence. Was a house that's up in it's not Eastern Ontario. It's in Northumberland County, which is just south of Peterborough. So it's kind of like central Eastern, if you want to call it. We're gonna keep the location completely undisclosed because we don't need nobody trespassing. But we went to this location after being asked by the new homeowners to come in. The house was completely empty. There was nothing in it. It had looked like it had been sitting there for years, falling apart, but in reality, it was only empty for a couple months. The previous tenants or owners were hoarders. So if you can just imagine, if you've ever seen that show where the floorboards are rotting, and that's exactly what it looked like. So we came in, and the house looked fine during the day, creepy nonetheless. Definitely you could tell there was something going on. And it just was fine during the day, but we should have known something was going on when the owner pulled out a large giant knife from a dirt pile outside. Just randomly, out of the blue, just bent down, and he just yanked it right on out and was like, "Oh, what's this doing here?" That should have been our number one clue as to how our night was going to go.
He had it all prepared and prepped for, but he's not going in the house until he has that knife, so he stores it outside.
At this point, I would probably assume that because they won't step foot in that house at night once it gets dark. But so of course, us being brave, we go in and we go and we start checking out the location. Like I said, during the day was fine, but it starts to get dark and then it starts to get scary. And it almost felt as if the house was enclosing in on us at one point. But it was just something else. It was completely something that we weren't used to. So we did a live video. We had our guests kind of follow, like our followers on Facebook follow us around, and we ended up cutting that live video short because we kept hearing what sounded like somebody walking around downstairs. Now, this location is out in the middle of nowhere, so anybody at any point could have come up and we would have no idea. So our one investigator, Ryan, is a former police officer. So he, his police officer, skills he starts using them again, we'll say.
Right.
So he goes downstairs and leaves us ladies upstairs. He's searching the perimeter for the noises that he's heard. So he's 100% sure someone's in the house. He comes back, there's no one. And then we notice that, the drapes the drapes that are hanging are starting to move, and it feels like the house is like coming alive, like it's breathing. At that point we were just like, nope, we're done, and we left. I don't know, Allison, do you have anything to say on
that? It was kind of like a house of horrors. Like literally did you talk about the room as I was chasing my child to not put my dress clothes in the dryer?
No.
See, teenagers wear headphones, and they're noise canceling headphones. So you can be screaming bloody murder, and guess what? They're not going to help you. So there was this room there that someone had been locked in. We're talking about the one by the apple, right, Rach? Yeah, okay. Someone with dementia, most likely. There were like urine stained handprints down the wall, and like tried to cover up feces, fingerprints, hands down the wall, scratching where the locks are and the door handle. Like it was very clear that somebody thought they were doing the right thing by locking someone in there to keep them safe, but they weren't. There was a spot in the living room that looked like a body had died there, and the body fluid spot was still there. There was a room that both the team medium at that time and myself were adamant somebody had been hung in there. And I guess they kind of had a feeling that that was known. Like it was just from the outside beautiful, but Rachel's right. Like we were on a live video, and it's probably one of the earliest we've ever left a location. And we were kind of all over the house. And next thing you know, we're all in the kitchen. We're like, okay, and that's a wrap. Have a great night. Goodbye. And we packed up and we were out of there so fast. so fast. And they were like, hey, do you want to come back? And we were like, no, like, I don't want to go back there.
Oh. So when you came home and you tell these stories to your families, if you do, I don't know if you do or not, what do they think?
Well, my other half is actually part of this team. He
Oh,
just,
never mind.
he doesn't come out as much as he used to because he's a long haul truck driver.
Okay.
So he's on the road truck driver. So, but he was just like, nope, nope.
Yeah. I mean, my kids know what I do. They both have the gifts as well. The eldest has turned it off because she doesn't want to deal. The little one, she definitely like is empathic. There's 100% no doubt about that. But she also like can sense energy shifts, changes in those. They know I do it. They know I love it. I have had one attachment, a very severe kind of attachment. I deserved it. I egged somebody on out of my character completely. And that was a really rough go. They were quite scared of me. I was dark. They didn't want to hug me. They were scared of me, but like I handled it, how it needs to be handled, and was cleared and all of those things. But I don't talk about it with my mom. She had the gift as well, but she has written it off to imaginary friends and that it's devils and work and witchcraft. So you don't ever speak of it. So I'm not open about it. I block her on Facebook if I post anything about the team and her friends. My other half was Catholic and believed it was witchcraft. So it's one of many reasons why I would say our compatibility kind of waned. So, the people that know I do it, that believe, love it. And they come, so many of my friends come to our public events and they bring their family. Some of them have brought their teenagers because we'll open it to, 14 to 16-year-olds, especially in museum locations, if the location allows, because our team, Rachel and I, 100% are on the mindset that you need to teach youth the right way to do this. Respect. I don't want them out there with Ouija boards. I don't want them out there summoning things. I don't want them using anything where they can get themselves in trouble and create portals. But they're also very inquiring because there's thousands of people on YouTube doing their own ghost things, right? And doing this and doing that. So it's one of those things. I had a friend bring all three of her kids, age 14 to 17, and they loved it. And she said they still talk about that museum and the experience of like not just seeing the equipment and hearing the equipment, but the energies that other people bring, right? Like that was something that they thought was really neat, that other people were there that were quite in tune and other people that weren't, and they could read those energies. So I feel like a lot of what we do, especially Rachel and I, and that's our backgrounds in like social work, thanatology, end of life, we help a lot of families understand that their children are seeing dead people and that their children have the gift. And, we did a mystic market in Oshawa, Ontario, here in Canada, and two families I helped that weekend. The one was a little girl who really couldn't verbalize what was going, but she was running all the time and they didn't know why. She wasn't sleeping. She was terrified. And I was just like, well, the dead people scare her. And Rachel's like, oh, that's how, right? So then I talked to mom and it turns out same as my family. She can track this back 9 generations, but she's so scared of her gift, she shut it off. So I gave them pointers, whatever. The next day I said to Rachel offhanded, like, I have this feeling I was in that little girl's dream somehow, but I don't know how, right? So I went over, talked to mom. Mom said it's the first night she woke up. She wasn't screaming. She wasn't scared. Daddy put her back to bed. She went to sleep. Everything was fine. So the next day, like I'm chatting with mom that after the Saturday, like this now the Sunday. And I leave from mom and I go back to our table within minutes, like 3 minutes, the little girl's at the table. And she's like, guess what? And she's like so excited to tell me that I was in her dream. And in her dream, I was stomping on the ghosts to keep her safe.
Oh, how sweet.
And then there was another little boy, same place. They looped us 3 times. And mom comes up. She's like, like I might have kind of told him that you guys are Ghostbusters. And I'm like, well, that's a good start. We don't bust them. We like to talk to them. So I got down to his level and I was like, have you ever seen a ghost? And he's like, yes. have you ever seen a ghost? I'm like, yes. So I'm like, tell me how they showed you. And then like we have this whole conversation, and mom and dad are like, so at the end of it all, I was like, this little sister that's been playing with our equipment, acting like she's not listening to anything, is gonna go home and ask him, what were you talking about that lady about the gray people, right? Because she sees them too. Like I know that. So mom and dad basically said, like, you just put together what we've not understood for like 5 years.
Oh, that is awesome.
Right. So
Good.
I think it's
High
because
five
I was,
for you guys.
well, you know what it is? And I say this to Rachel, like, I was told I was not good because of my gifts. I was told I was evil. I was like, I was the devil child in, you know, in my mom's religious eyes. And I owned that for years. And everyone say, shine your light, shine it bright. You're a honey child. Your soul's liquid gold. And like everybody but my mom was like, do this. And I didn't understand it. Right. I didn't understand it. So I've said to Rachel, it is my life mission to make sure that no other child out there thinks they're evil or bad. They are given a divine gift. There's no rhyme or reason why people can develop them or not develop them, but like own it and embrace it. And I would say 99.9% of any family we've come in contact with embraces it, supports it, and allows them to be themselves and figure it out. So times have changed.
Yeah, my son
Early
has
80s.
my son has a little bit. He tells me about this museum that we have in town, and he goes, all the times that we've been in it when he was growing up, he goes, I always felt weird in certain spots in it. It's like, honey, you got it. You know, he's like, yeah, well, oh well.
I'm lucky. My family embraced it from day one because growing up, my grandma's house was always said to be haunted, and she would have premonitions and that kind of stuff. So it's been in my life since day one, and now my kid gets stuck with it too.
Well,
Well, he's screwed because both mom and dad have the gifts,
Yes.
right? It comes
Oh,
from both
yeah.
sides there.
Yeah, he's got a double whammy there. Well, my sister has it. After I found out about all of this and started looking at my life, it's like, oh well, yeah, this and this and this and this happened. And since I got into it, my sister, I knew she's always seen things. She's had stuff happening. So I was talking with her about it. Now she's a Reiki master. My brother, I was like, I wasn't quite sure about him, but he got to actually, I'm kind of jealous, but he actually got to watch my mom pass. He saw my mom cross over. I was like, how lucky was he?
Wow.
That was awesome. But my other
That's a
sister,
gift.
she's just kind of like, yeah, right, you guys are there. My dad's like, okay, that witchy, that crazy stuff you guys do. So, but it's been a lot of fun, you know. We hang out, you know. I've got my stuff, and I love how I have you guys. Oh my guests, you guys are just so awesome. Yeah.
There's so much to talk about in this realm.
Yeah.
It could just go on forever and ever and ever.
Yeah.
And like we say, there's no experts in this field because it's always changing and we are always learning, and there will never be an expert. There may be people that have more experience, but that doesn't make them an expert. And I don't want to be known as an expert, and I know Allison doesn't want to be known as an expert, and our team doesn't want to be known as experts. But we have information we can share with you that can make you think more and make you do your own research, because we're always continuing ours.
Yeah, and I agree with that. I think, and I'm just starting. I'm just starting my little journey, and I've already been in so many rabbit holes. I'm so lost in it. It's like, oh, it's so much fun. I've been loving it. Yeah, yeah. Oh, you guys are awesome. I want to thank you so much for being on the show, and
anytime.
to have two of you. My first show to have two in one.
The blonde and the brunette.
Yeah, we're kind of a package deal. No.
And that's cool. That is so awesome. But yeah, if you guys are ever in the area, let me know. I would love to. We've got places here that we can go check out. So
what are the top 3 haunted places there in Colorado where you are?
Where I'm at, I have that I know of, there is a railroad station that is said to have a little boy running around. We have, I forget where it was at. The Legions, I want to say it was one of their buildings. You guys are laughing already. You kind of, they have, I guess, someone that goes in the elevators and whatnots. I did work in one place and I worked second shift, and nobody was upstairs, but every once in a while the elevators would just open up. So I was like, okay. They joked that it was a ghost, and I'm thinking, But yeah, there's a few places around. Yeah, that I've heard of here where I'm at, but
Cool.
and the
I'm
museum.
just always curious. I'm just always curious what we could see if we road trip to Colorado.
Yeah, I would
Allison's
have
making a list.
Yeah, there you go. Do your job, because I'm not sure what all is around here. I mean, I know we have places in like Greeley, Fort Collins has some investigators up there, and but I don't know specifics. I haven't gotten that deep into it yet. But yeah. Do your job there, Rachel, and then we'll get together and we'll have some fun.
Sounds good.
All right.
The closest we're going to get this year will be Hinsdale. We are actually going to the Hinsdale House in New York.
Well, that's a little out of my way.
Just a little. Just a little.
Just a little.
That's the closest we're getting this year.
It's all good. It's all good. You know, whenever. Sometime we'll get together and we'll do this.
Sounds good.
Awesome. Well, I will let you guys go, and thank you again for being on the show. I completely enjoyed the two of you being here, and it's been fun. So, to any of the guests out there, if you have any stories to tell, like these ladies, get a hold of me. Contact me. Let's talk, and let's get you on the show. Just email me at lighttalk423@gmail.com, and don't forget the like, share, and subscribe buttons down below. All right, we'll talk to you guys next week. All right.
Bye.
Bye.